Credit card applications pending. Who are our best prospect cardholders? Improved decisions through business analytics and business intelligence. Introduction. ABC Bank of Thailand had been one of the top 3 largest banks in Thailand, not only providing a variety of banking services to both corporate and individual customers, but also specializing in retail banking business, especially in offering a full range of credit card products. The current array of 20 credit card programs that the bank was offering targeted different groups of customers, such as co-brand airline, hotel, and retail credit cards, cashback credit cards, and credit cards with transferable points to various loyalty programs. Problem. The bank had been losing its loyalty customers to the competitors at the rate of approximately 10% annually since 2014, a loss that might be doubled by the end of the year. Although the credit card market was moderately concentrated, there had been a lot of new credit card offerings from competitors in the recent years. Inevitably, consumers were open to switching to take out a new credit card since they valued the flexibility offered by credit cards to collect rewards and points, make secure payments, spread the costs of purchases, or pay off other debt. Another serious point after going through the annual report indicating a worrisome increase in the number of customers with persistent levels of debt who were struggling to repay their credit card debts. ABC Premier Card. A new credit card application situation regarding ABC Premier Card, the bank's most popular card offering, had just arisen and needed sorting out with respect to the attributes of customers whom the bank should approve and deny. In 2011, the bank excited the retail banking industry, becoming the first mover to introduce ABC Premier Card that could flexibly transfer or redeem points earned through credit card spendings to various options in addition to the basic services that were offered by the other cards. It was the first card that enabled customers to transfer points to participating airlines and hotels at a 1-to-1 ratio without devaluing the points, and also that they could redeem for statement credits at a rate of 10,000 points for $100. At the time, the common transfer ratio from other retail banking competitors was 1.5-to-1, meaning that customers could transfer 1.5 reward points for 1 airline mile or hotel point, etc. ABC Premier Card was considered the card of the year based on the popular votes received in many travel magazines, especially by those who traveled internationally, as the card imposed no foreign transaction fees when cardholders used it abroad. The points were easily accumulated at the rate of 2 points awarded on all dining and travel categories such as train tickets, cabs, airfare, or even parking. Although the card came with a $95 annual fee, it was waived for the first year. With these features, it was considered by many customers a must-have card for those who were enthusiastic about the points and miles. The 2018 version of ABC Premier Card had been improved with an increase of sign-up bonus points to win new customers and to gain competitive advantage. The annual fee was also increased to reflect its value as another mid to high-end credit card. Further, ABC Bank policy provided that customers who got approved for a premium credit card like ABC Premier Card would also receive a minimum credit line of $5,000. The case objectives. Retaining low-risk loyalty customers and acquiring new customers while reducing debt burdens were always challenging. The bank believed that it was time to overhaul credit card application processes by employing more sophisticated analytical techniques to analyze customer and credit card data. ABC Premier Card would be a serendipitous test case in which to further develop ideas about improvements in the credit card application approval process. Pending credit card applications. There were 5 ABC Premier Card applications pending for decision in the House file. All applicants, Tom, Michael, Jane, Danny, and Ben, were the bank's existing customers. Tom, a business owner, the sole proprietor of an online electronics shop, was a long-time customer of the bank for over 10 years and had the highest annual income among the applicants. Michael, an employee of a well-known trading company, had an annual income of $60,000 and had first opened a checking account with the bank 7 years ago. Jane had just retired, but her annual income from her pension funds and stock market investments were estimated at $55,000. She had been a long-time customer since 1997. Danny was a graduate student whose main source of income was derived from his position as a teaching assistant at his university and his parents. Lastly, Ben, an assistant professor, had an estimated annual income of $70,000 with additional $10,000 from his stock market investments. Both Danny and Ben had been with the bank for less than 3 years. Which applicants should be approved for the ABC Premier Card? Tightening the credit approval process was one of the important strategies for the bank to potentially avoid an increase of risky customers. However, strictly declining credit card applications might alienate potential customers and foregoes the bank's profitable lending opportunities. As a newly hired marketing director, what are your suggestions? You could approve all of them instantly, approve some of them, or even decline all of them. Current credit card approval process. NCB credit score. The existing credit card approval process relied heavily on the NCB credit score from National Credit Bureau. The NCB credit score, which determined an individual's credit worthiness, summarized information about an individual credit report into a single number, ranging from 300 to 850, that lenders could use to quickly access an individual's credit risk. Customers with a score greater than 800 were excellent customers and posed less risk to the bank. If they applied for the credit card, they would be approved instantly. Scores between 750 and 799 were considered very good. Customers in this group sometimes would get instant credit card approvals if they were loyalty customers, or, more technically, when the average age of their accounts with the bank was very high and they lacked recent huge installment loans. Otherwise, a further review by our credit card specialists would be made. Although the score between 700 and 749 was considered good, customers in this group usually were required to submit further documentation such as source of incomes, financial statement, or certificate of employment, etc. And the approval process would be on an individual case basis. Customers who had credit scores below 700 rarely got approved unless they had significantly high deposits on any of the saving or checking accounts. The agent had strictly followed these rules since 2011. All 5 applicants had an excellent credit history without any derogatory marks. At 811, Jane had the highest NCB credit score, followed by Tom, 801, Michael, 780, Ben, 755, and Danny, 750. More factors to be considered. ABC Bank of Thailand database. In addition to the NCB credit score, the following 5 criteria would be very useful for the bank to assess the risk of each credit card applicant. These 5 criteria were pulled from the ABC Bank of Thailand database and consisted of metrics concerning credit card utilization, payment history, age of credit history, total accounts, and credit inquiries. Danny was doing an excellent job keeping their statement balances very low, while Tom had recently been hitting the dreaded 80% credit utilization ratio, which seemed very concerning to the bank. Jane and Ben were approaching the relatively high 51% and 45% utilization ratio, respectively, while Michael's credit card utilization was approximately 30%. Danny and Ben were the only 2 existing customers who made on-time payment each month. Tom and Jane had never missed a monthly payment but had chosen to carry a balance by meeting the minimum payments quite often in the past 3 years. Lastly, Michael had missed minimum payments for 3 consecutive months in 2015 and another 3 consecutive months in 2016. His financial situation seemed to get better as he had at least met minimum payments each month, thus never hit any late payment again, even once since 2017. However, Michael still hardly paid off his balance in full every month as Danny and Ben did. Tom, for example, had opened a total of 20 credit cards with the bank within the last 10 years. Although his oldest card was still in active status, he had gradually closed 15 accounts since 2015 when the annual fees were due. In fact, he had just opened another card with the bank last month and currently applied for the ABC Premier card. Of the remaining active accounts, 1 card was a debit card, 2 were the no annual fees card, and the other 2 cards were airline and hotel co-brand credit cards. The average age of his credit history with the bank was 3 years and 10 months. Jane had opened a total of 19 credit cards with the bank over her 20 years of being a loyalty customer. Currently, only 8 cards were in active status and, out of those cards, 2 cards were no annual fees credit cards. The average age of all credit cards currently opened was 5 years and 2 months. Her 2 new retail co-brand credit cards were approved 5 and 2 months ago, respectively. Michael's case was a bit different from the other applicants. He had a total of 9 credit cards with the bank, 6 of which were active. However, due to his struggle to meet minimum payment situations during 2013 and 2014, his credit cards were suspended multiple times during those periods, and his credit line for each credit card was decreased. His situation was getting better as he paid off his balance in early 2015 to recover his trust with the bank. Although he had never been in arrears again since 2015, he was still on the watch list, and no new credit cards were approved during his past 3.5 years as a bank customer. The average age of credit history for Danny and Ben at a little over a year was fairly short. Danny had a debit card and a student no annual fees card. Both cards were still in active status. His student credit card was opened 7 months ago. Ben had a total of 5 credit card accounts, with 4 of them still active. His only closed retail co-brand credit card was when the annual fees was due 2 years ago. The other 4 cards included a debit card, a no annual fees card, a hotel-branded credit card, and an airline co-brand credit card. For credit inquiries, this referred to the number of hard credit pulls on a customer's credit report for things like credit card applications, loan applications, and a request to increase credit line in the last 2 years. Basically, applying for a new line of credit card would generally result in a hard credit inquiry. A lot of hard credit inquiries meant that a customer was desperate for credit and might suggest a customer was not getting approved by the banks or lenders. Both Tom and Jane had 10 credit inquiries in the past 2 years. Meanwhile, Ben, Michael, and Danny had quite a few credit inquiries of 5, 3, and 2, respectively. Which applicants should be approved for the ABC Premier card? Would you like to change your selection? Understanding ABC Bank of Thailand's customers. A further look at customer data, the bank could segment its customers based on their historic responding to the bank's campaigns and redemption patterns in order to understand their behavior in using credit cards and using points earned through credit card spending. Through the use of cluster analysis, 5 distinct segments of customers were found. Segment 1 had a significantly higher than average earnings or redeeming their points on airline-related category, were close to the distribution centers on hotel-related category, but lower than average on other categories. This customer segment was labeled an inspired airline traveler. Segment 2 were largely characterized by hotel-related category, were slightly below the average on retail category, were close to the distribution centers on airline-related category, but lower than average on statement credit category. This customer segment was also labeled as Inspired Hotel Traveler. Segment 3 had a higher than average redeeming their points on airline and hotel-related categories, were close to the distribution centers on retail-related category, but lower than average on statement credit category. This customer segment was labeled as Reward Seekers. Segment 4 eschewed airline and hotel redemptions in favor of retail-related category. This customer segment was labeled as Shopaholic. Segment 5 were categorized by a high prevalence of statement credit redemption and only a few on other categories. This customer segment was labeled as Cashback. Applying the similar clustering method based on the historical purchasing and redemption activities for all applicants indicated that Tom, Michael, and Ben were classified as Segment 3 members, Jane as Segment 4 members, and Danny as Segment 5 members. Which applicants should be approved for the ABC Premier card? Based on the customer earning and redeeming points behavior, what's your suggestion? More insights into applicant profiles. As a marketing analyst, You believed there were still other factors to be investigated, such as how much customers in each segment spent, how often they spent, what credit card programs and perks they liked most, and what solicitations inspired them to become regular customers, but ultimately, which customers had the highest value to the bank. However, if the bank needed to pick one key measurement indicator to determine which groups of customers the bank should invest in, it would be Customer Lifetime Value, CLV. The bank usually categorized its customers based on CLV levels into 5 groups: very high, high, moderate, low, and very low groups. Looking at the last 24 months, Tom had the highest average spending at $3,500 per month, followed by Jane, $1,800, Michael, $1,750, Ben, $1,730, and Danny, $950. However, Thorne could spot the high growth rate in spending at 12% for Danny, 10% for Ben, and 5% for Michael. Tom's spending pattern was quite steady, whereas Jane had spent a little less recently in comparison to the others. Thus, based on the average spending in the past 24 months and the growth rate trend, Tom was the bank's excellent customer with the highest CLV, followed by Michael, Jane, and Ben, each of whom had a moderate CLV. Danny was in the low CLV group. CLV provided greater insight into how each applicant contributed to the bank's financial performance throughout the time they were with the bank. Decision tree models. In addition to the cluster analysis and CLV, gaining an in-depth analysis of the behavior of customers who were loyal to the bank is also important. In other words, build predictive models from historical data on credit card usage to understand the key factors that had a great impact on customers' decision to continue using the cards. The following question, what were the behavioral patterns of customers who were loyal to the bank, arises. To find an answer to this question, it was important not only to study the behavior of the current ABC Premier card holders, but also to determine whether their activities and transactions in the past year could help explain and predict their decision to extend the card for another year. It looked like, based on the results of the decision tree model, customers who were loyal to the bank, aka paying for annual fees, usually had high spending, were involved in many hotel and airline-related activities, and responded favorably on the offers that could earn extra bonus points. After applying the decision tree model to each applicant data based on their redemption activities, promotions solicited and responded to, and spending in different categories, Tom, Ben, and Michael would be among the applicants with the highest probability of extending the card for another year if they were approved for the ABC Premier card at 85.85%, 77.18%, and 77.18% respectively. Surprisingly, it was unlikely that Jane would pay for the annual fees if she had the ABC Premier card. Based on decision tree analysis, she had never responded to any annual spending that offered 5 times bonus for more than 15 times per year. Although she had redeemed the one free night promotion for a hotel stay once, she had never redeemed her points for any airline activities in the past 2 years. Her probability of extending the card for another year if she were approved for the ABC Premier card was estimated at 47.66%. Danny's chance to renew the card if he was approved for the ABC Premier card was quite low at 41.73%. Although he responded to promotions that offered 5-time bonus couple times and received bonus points for an airline booking once, his monthly statement had never shown any transactions related to hotel bookings, and his average transaction counts per month was less than 15 transactions. Credit Risk Model. After gather more detailed account level credit card data, especially for accounts that became delinquent and accounts that eventually went into default. The next task was to build a predictive model to classify accounts that were likely to become default or delinquent, also called bad credit, as opposed to those good credit accounts. Independent variables included many distinct factors. Demographic information: age, gender, job, housing, annual income, saving and checking accounts, etc. National Credit Bureau, NCB score. Current balance: 1 month, 3 month, and 6 month changes in the balance. Credit card utilization: 1 month, 3 month, and 6 month changes in the utilization. Number of accounts that had 30 plus, 60 plus, and 90 plus days past due. The ratio of actual payment over minimum payment. The ratio of cash advance volume over credit allowance. The ratio of balance transfer volume over credit allowance. The ratio of high purchase volume, $1,000 plus, $3,000 plus, and $5,000 plus, over credit allowance. Total fees incurred. Total number of accounts. Total number of closed accounts in the past 3 months, 6 months, 9 months, 1 year, and 1 or more years. Total of credit inquiries. Flag if credit accounts had been frozen. 1 equals yes. Flag if credit lines had been decreased. 1 equals yes. Flag if credit accounts had been suspended for financial review. 1 equals yes. Flag of credit accounts had been investigated for any fraudulent activities. 1 equals yes. Age of credit history. Credit inquiries in the past 3 months, 6 months, 9 months, etc. Credit risk model. Logistic regression. This equation presented the credit risk model through logistic regression, also called a logit model. The higher the risk score, the greater the chance the applicants might become delinquent or default in the future. The bank wanted to apply the model to predict all applicants' risk score, and in this credit risk prediction model, that would mean predicting the probability that the applicant was classified as bad credit. Tom had the highest probability of becoming delinquent or default at 71.36%, followed by Ben, 24.47%, Michael, 20.58%, Jane, 15.66%, and Danny, 5.01%. Default customers or customers with serious arrears usually behaved similarly to a certain degree. Thus, utilizing customer behavior data, especially for those customers who were at very high risk, to predict any unusual pattern that might lead to persistent levels of debt for new credit card applicants, would signal the bank to be proactive in avoiding high-risk customers. Additionally, such an indicator would help reduce the chance of overlooking those low-risk applicants as well. Time to make the final decision. As a marketing director, you had not yet reached agreement on whom they should approve for the ABC Premier card. What ABC Bank of Thailand risked losing if all applicants were rejected? Would the bank retain risky customers if the bank approved all of them instantly? It's time to make the final decision on which applicants should be approved for the ABC Premier card.